All right, so welcome to the MTOI Tuesday Night Torah Study. I will be hosting you tonight, and we're excited about going through the Word. So for those of you that might be new, what I'll give you is a little bit of a rundown of what we're going to do. So we're going to have a little quick prayer time where we'll take up any of the prayer needs that may be within the body here. So if anybody has a prayer or praise, okay, we can certainly take care of that. If you have a microphone that works, you can always raise your hand. We'll give you the mic. Let's keep it to the urgent things. That'll be great. Then we're going to read the Torah portion, and then we'll go ahead and have a few announcements, and then we'll go ahead and discuss the Torah portion. All right, so that being said, let's begin with what day are we entering? Let's make it that way, because for some of you it's almost sundown. What day are we entering in the Omer count? That is correct, 18. It's easy this year. Just add 10 to the day. So tomorrow's the 8th. It'll be 18. Okay, so there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some of the prayers. Aaron Murray, prays for all the favor Abba has been giving me here in the hospital. Shalom to all, and thank you for your prayers. Gary and Tanya in Lakeview, prayer for Jim Klein, who was not feeling well and fell today and may need to go to the ER. All right. Mike and Lisa, continued prayers for our son-in-law Scott, please. After many appointments and additional testing this week, they have discovered another tumor in addition to the two large ones by his carotid arteries. It may be inoperable. The surgery for the other tumors could cause permanent vocal swallowing side effects. More tests tomorrow and surgery tentatively scheduled for Friday, May 10th. Prayers appreciated. Janice has a few unspoken for family members. Okay, Crystal wants to thank me for last night's service and the study tonight. You're very welcome. My pleasure. Kendall, prayers. Pray for me. I'm actually feeling pretty awful, and we'll try to get through the study tonight, but you'll hear me wheezing, and I've got lung issues. It's all with the allergies, and I don't know what I've got, but it's terrible. All right. Let's see, Kendall, prayers for my wife, Jessica. She has an exposed nerve in her tooth and has been in horrible pain for the past 2 days. David and Amy, Rabbi, I'm woefully ignorant of why we count the Omer. Okay, we count the Omer so that we know when 50 days have fully come to get to Shavuot. Now, with modern technology, that's not a big deal. But you know what? If you were trying to keep track of 50 days in a day when we didn't have modern technology, you could easily get lost in your count. Okay, Chelsea and Unspoken, Robin Tamara. Prayer for Tamara's out-of-state tuition gets waived. We haven't been here. Minimum time required to be considered residents of Alabama. Waiver possible due to evacuation due to storm. Laura's got an unspoken for her son. Kathy, prayer for application to Cleveland Apartments. Arthur and Linda, prayer for Joyce K., dealing with very difficult family issues. Diane from Portland, prayer needed for the job I applied for today. It would be an increase in pay that I need and a benefit of 20% discount on my daughter's college tuition. That would be great. Greg, prayer for Mary. She thinks she had a seizure in her sleep and now his whole body is sore. Okay. Jack and Jessa Ann are praising Abba for his many blessings. I think we all are probably doing that. At least we should be. Melton, prayer for my wife, Lori, who has finished her chemotherapy and is getting Keytruda treatment. Okay, we certainly can pray about that. George, prayer for Isabel's dad, who begins chemo tomorrow, for Isabel, who's beginning as a full-time caregiver with me, and me, and that I am able to serve both. Okay. Rick Berry, continued prayers for Aaron Murray and Kevin Shett. Aaron's actually in the room. At least he was. I'm not sure I see him there anymore. Okay. Alicia and Matthew, prayer for Alicia's knee for healing. Lisa Hale, for more wisdom in my walk. Bonnie, in the past, whose job was it to keep the official count? It was everybody's job to count. The priest would keep the official count. Lewis wants to know if there's any brethren in Kansas City, in the metro area. Brian and Jamie, unspoken for our friend Charlotte. Earl from Lethbridge, prayers for customers for my new sales job, please. Travis and Jessa with Lev Mashiach in Nebraska Prayers continue to seek God's direction and favor in Travis's search for new employment. Protections for my family traveling now and for travel in the near future. Healings within the mishpacha, within the family. Okay. Christian, praise that my college tuition is not too much and prayer for navigating costs and such. Jonathan Thompson, unspoken. Catherine Byer, just listening. Nothing wrong with that. Gary and Tanya, prayer for me and those helping to arrange Rabbi's visit at the end of the month so we get everything coordinated and covered. And Gary, I'll need to talk to you more about that at some point this week. I have a crazy week though, so hopefully we'll get more of that discussed. Let's see. Tony, prayers for healing, dealing with a kidney infection that's not getting better and a sinus infection and continued prayers. With issues arising at work, Rabbi, prayers for you concerning your health. Thank you. Appreciate that. I felt great until about midday today, and then I just sort of went down fast. I just feel like I should be in bed. Excuse me. Which I won't be able to do for very long since tomorrow the moving company is coming to pack my house, and then Thursday they move everything over to the new house. And so, yeah, is it rundownitis? Probably. I think it's more allergies because of all the stuff growing. Let's see. Selena, Luke is under the weather, unspoken for a friend. Karen Tanya, allergies are really bad this year. Olivier, Janet and the kids, praises for healing from sinus issues for Janet and Valentina's finger infection. Prayers for discernment, wisdom. Thank you, Father. Shalom from Colorado. Prayers to the children hurt in another shooting out here. Yeah, there was a shooting about 3 hours ago, I think, in a school in Colorado. I just heard about it a few minutes ago before we started the study. So I need to pray for them. Do we know any Messianic Torah observant movers? Well, we know a lot of people who can do moving, but in this case, we were just going to get the professionals to come, grab everything, and move it. Patricia Brooks is not feeling well, may have to leave at some point. Okay, anybody else? Okay, TL and FTL. Tom down in Fort Lauderdale. Shalom to all. The best 2 hours of Torah study. Prayers for my wife Carmen, battling some stuff. Okay. Oh, battling acid reflux. Okay, that's a rough thing to deal with. Okay, just waiting to see if we have any more. Jonathan, praise Abba for that Rosh Chodesh service and the idea of transformative action. Great concept to understand transformative action. Claudia, many unspoken, please. Gary and Tanya also prayers for me to be able to serve and help all those who have contacted me lately and wanting to come to MTOI Lakeview. Okay, Tom wants to know any suggestions for washing seats? It doesn't work real well. You could do it with like a woolite, put them, that way they will tend to unravel to some degree. If you get the cotton ones that we sell, they're kind of disposable. You just wear them for a couple of months and then get new ones. Okay? They don't generally wash very well. I am from Portland. Yes, agreed on the Rosh Chodesh message. It was just what I needed, such a blessing. I'm glad that a lot of people really did get blessed by the message. It was spontaneous. I didn't have anything planned. I just knew I wanted to just stand up there and open my mouth and see what Abba had to put in it. So I'm glad it worked out for everyone. Melton, I drove over the road, tractor trailer loading furniture, and our military personnel from state to state. Maybe I could help you, Rabbi, if you rent a rig. Well, listen, we already got a company that's going to come, pack what we haven't finished packing, and then move it all on Thursday, and then we'll be completely moved to the new house. And so the thing is, I've got to get up early tomorrow to meet them at the house at 8 so that they can actually start boxing everything up. I'm a little nervous with that. Some of you have done that often, but I've never done it before. I had anybody else box my stuff up. But the busyness that I have really prevents me from doing it any other way. Okay. Let's see. All right, Gary stopped trying to watch the cheat sheet after the teaching I did cover explaining the blue and the spotted white, etc. Love the analogy. Mazel tov from Olivia and Jan and the kids about the move. Janice's phone is wonky. That's a technical term for those of you that are not familiar. So I think that's going to pretty much cover it. All right, so let's get one of the guys to go ahead and raise their hand, and we'll open the study in prayer. We've got one more from Santi. Family trauma, healing, and spiritual revival, mission, and professional direction, providence, and guidance. Okay, it's a lot on that list. Okay. Let's see, how about...
Avinu Makino, our Father, our King. Father, we as a family just come humbly to your throne, recognizing you as sovereign over our lives. Father, we need as much as we can so we can learn from your Torah, receive instruction from you, help us through our trials, and figure this out. Father, everybody has needs and concerns tonight, and I just lift them all up to you, Father, and ask you to bless this Torah study and Rabbi Steve as he's teaching. In Yeshua's authority, Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Earl. Okay. Now we're going to play everybody's favorite game. Guess which shirt I'm wearing tonight. See if I can put that pod up here. Let's see. We've got red, blue, blue, black, red. Well, we got a couple of different reds and a couple of different blues. So someone said the funky blue, yellow, red, maroon, blue. Let's see if we can get this video up here for a second. I don't know why this thing is so big, but it is. I don't know how to make it smaller. Okay, we don't want the full screen. There we go. Well, now we're in full screen. Not letting me move it differently. Okay, hold on. All right, well, I'll just start my camera. We'll just have to deal with it that way. And the winner is the blue. This particular blue, the lighter blue. Okay? And of course, we need scratch. Okay. So, want to wave at everybody? Appreciate you. The office is still a mess. We're still working on getting that all worked out. But appreciate you. I'm going to close this up. I don't know why I can't get it to be smaller. Huh. Okay. All right. Can everyone hear me okay? All right, so that's for... Someone tell Lewis that there is sound, and he might need to have to reboot. Just type it in. Okay, Rabbi Anitha, almost day 18, not day 17. You were close. At the end of day 17, going into day 18. Okay? Okay, let's see. Mike and Lisa, private chat is not working tonight. It didn't work last week. Is that on our end or your end? I don't know if private chats are not working. But really, you guys shouldn't be private chatting during the study anyway. Okay, thank you, Ian and Gary, for typing that in. I don't know why the private chat might be working. We did have some things that went a little strange on the system here a little while back. I may have to go and mess with it to try to fix some of the things, like why the video window comes up the way it does. But we'll have to figure that out. Okay, so tonight, let me just make a few quick announcements and then we'll go into the Torah portion. So tonight we're already into the Rosh Chodesh, the new month of Iyar. Okay, so we're already into the new month of Iyar. This is day 2 of Iyar. And we're counting down the Omer, so they're going into day 18. We have, of course, services coming up on the Sabbath here as we are headed, towards the end of the week. And then we are scheduling the visit to the Lakeview area Gary, put the email that you want people to email to if they're planning to come to Lakeview for Memorial Day weekend, which I believe is, what are the dates for that? Is that the 24th to 26th or something? I don't know what the dates are for that. May 24th to 26th. Email Gary if you're planning to be in the Lakeview, Ohio area. Okay? All right? Okay, Santi Lee cannot hear. Someone let Santi know that there is sound. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so that's it for the announcements for right now. We are going to be announcing soon the picnic in Mikvah. We'll be doing that in July. So that will be coming up soon. Okay. All right, so we are doing, let's see, where are we on this one? We're doing Parsha Kedoshim. What does Kedoshim mean? Set apart ones, holy things, holy people. Kedoshim really means like holy things. Okay. The set apart things, Kedoshim. Okay. Which is Leviticus 19 through 20:27, which I believe is the end of 20. So we're just going to do 2 chapters, Leviticus 19 and 20. Okay, I've only got 4 readers. Okay, so it's a short one tonight, which actually works out well for me since I'm not feeling well. Okay, so only spots for 4 readings. So if you want to read, you can go ahead and raise your hand. So if you are listening to the teaching, I would recommend that you follow along in your Bibles as well as take notes on any comments or questions that you may have concerning what we hear read. And I will call up each reader one at a time. I'll recite a traditional blessing over each one, tell you what verses you're reading, and then you'll go ahead and read. Okay? So that should work out. Then afterwards, we'll close with a closing blessing, and then we'll have a few more announcements just to remind everybody in case they came in late, and then we'll go into the discussion of the Torah portion. Okay. Now, so we have the first reader is George. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless George, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, George, you're going to read chapter 19 in Leviticus, verses 1. Mr. George, we don't hear you. Your mic looks like it's working, but we're not hearing anything. Still nothing. You must be having some technical difficulties there. We're not hearing anything. Okay, George, put your hand down. Then we'll go to the next reader and, mute your mic, even though it's not really on anyway. And then we can always try this another time. Sorry about that. Jonathan, he who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Jonathan, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Jonathan, go ahead and take us into chapter 19 and read verses 1.
Can you hear me? Can everyone hear? And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say to them, Be set apart, for I, Yahweh, your Elohim, am set apart. Each one of you should fear his mother and his father, and guard my Sabbaths. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Do not turn to idols, and do not make for yourselves molded mighty ones. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. And when you slaughter a slaughtering of peace offerings to Yahweh, slaughter it for your acceptance. It is eaten the same day you slaughter it, and on the next day, and that which is left on the third day is burned with fire. So if it is eaten at all on the third day, it is abominable, it is not accepted. And he who eats it bears his crookedness, because he has profaned the set-apart offering of Yahweh, and that being shall be cut off from his people. And when you reap the harvest of your land, do not completely reap the corners of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. And do not glean your vineyard or gather every grape of your vineyard. Leave them for the poor and the stranger. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Do not steal, do not lie, do not deceive one another. And do not swear falsely by my name, and so profane the name of your Elohim. I am Yahweh. Do not oppress your neighbor or rob him. The wages of him who is hired is not to remain with you all night until morning. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block before the blind, but fear your Elohim. I am Yahweh. Do no unrighteousness in right ruling. Do not be partial to the poor or favor the face of the great, but rightly rule your neighbor in righteousness. Do not go slandering among your people. Do not stand against the blood of your neighbor. I am Yahweh. Do not hate your brother in your heart. Reprove your neighbor for certain and bear no sin because of him. Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahweh.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate that. Okay, so next up we have Chuck. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Chuck, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Chuck's going to take us from verse 19 to the end of the chapter.
Mic check. Guard my laws. Do not let your livestock mate with another kind. Do not sow your field with mixed seed. And do not put a garment woven of two sorts of thread upon you. And when a man has intercourse with a woman who is a female servant, engaged to a man, and to be ransomed, but she has not been ransomed nor set free, there should be an inquiry. But they are not put to death because she was not free. And he shall bring his guilt offering to Yahweh, to the door of the tent of appointments, a ram as a guilt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him with the ram of the guilt offering before Yahweh, for his sin which he has done. And the sin which he has sinned shall be forgiven him. And when you come into the land, and have planted all kinds of trees for food, then you shall reckon their fruit as uncircumcised. For 3 years it is as uncircumcised to you. It is not eaten. And in the 4th year, all its fruit is set apart, praises to Yahweh. And in the 5th year, you eat its fruit, so that it increases its yield to you. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Do not eat meat with blood. Do not practice divination or magic. Do not round the corner of your head, nor destroy the corner of your beard. And do not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor put tattoo marks on you. I am Yahweh. Do not profane your daughter by making her a whore, so that the land does not whore, and the land becomes filled with wickedness. Guard my Sabbaths and reverence my set-apart place. I am Yahweh. Do not turn to mediums, and do not seek after spiritists to be defiled by them. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Raise up before the gray-headed, and you shall favor the face of an old man, and shall fear your Elohim. I am Yahweh. And when a stranger sojourns with you in your land, do not oppress him. Let the stranger who dwells among you be to you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Do no unrighteousness in right ruling, in measurement of length, in weight, or in measuring liquids. Have right scales, right weights, a right ephah, and a right hin. I am Yahweh, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. And you shall guard all my laws and all my right rulings, and do them. I am Yahweh.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Chuck. Appreciate that. Okay, next up we have Bob. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Bob, who's come up out of Yahweh and the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Bob, take us now into chapter 20 and read verses 1 through 14.
Okay, mic check. Okay. Then Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Say to the children of Israel, any man of the children of Israel, or of the strangers who sojourn in Israel, who gives any of his offspring to Molech, shall certainly be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. And I shall set my face against that man, and shall cut him off from the midst of his people, because he has given up his offspring to Molech, so as to defile my set-apart place, and to profane my set-apart name. And if the people of the land at all hide their eyes from the man, as he gives any of his offspring to Molech, and they do not kill him, then I shall set my face against that man, and against his clan, and shall cut him off, and all who go whoring after him, even go whoring after Molech, from the midst of their people. And the being who turns to mediums and to spiritists, to go whoring after them, I shall set my face against that being, and cut him off from the midst of his people. And you shall set yourselves apart, and shall be set apart, for I am Yahweh your Elohim. And you shall guard my laws, and do them. I am Yahweh who sets you apart. For everyone who curses his father or his mother shall certainly be put to death. He has cursed his father or his mother, his blood is on him. And a man who commits adultery with the wife of another man, who commits adultery with the wife of his neighbor, the adulterer and the adulteress shall certainly be put to death. And a man who lives with the wife of his father has uncovered the nakedness of his father. Both of them shall certainly be put to death. Their blood is upon them. And a man who lives with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall certainly be put to death. They have made confusion. Their blood is upon them. And a man who lies with a male, as he lies with a woman, both of them have done an abomination. They shall certainly be put to death. Their blood is upon them. And a man who marries a woman and her mother, it is wickedness. They are burned with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness in your midst.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that, Bob. Okay, next up, our last reader, Gary. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Gary, who's called down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Gary's going to take us now from verse 15 to the end of chapter 20.
And a man who has intercourse with a beast, he shall certainly be put to death, the beast and you, and the beast you kill. And a woman who approaches any beast and mates with it, you shall kill the woman and the beast. They shall certainly be put to death, their blood is upon them. And a man who takes his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and sees her nakedness, and she sees his nakedness, is it loving commitment? And they shall be cut off before the eyes of their people. He has uncovered his sister's nakedness, he bears his crookedness. And a man who lies with a woman during her sickness and uncovers her nakedness, he has laid bare her flow, and she has uncovered the flow of her blood. Both of them shall be cut off from the midst of their people. And do not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, nor of your father's sister, for that is laying bare one's own flesh. They bear their crookedness. And a man who lies with his uncle's wife, he has uncovered his uncle's nakedness. They bear their sin, they die childless. And a man who takes his brother's wife, it is uncleanliness. He has uncovered his brother's nakedness, they are childless. And you shall guard all my laws and all my right rulings, and do them, so that the land where I am bringing you to dwell does not vomit you out. Do not walk in the laws of the nations which I am driving out before you, for they do all these, and therefore I loathe them. But I say to you, you are going to possess their land, and I myself give it to you to possess it, a land flowing with milk and honey. I am Yahweh your Elohim, who has separated you from the peoples. And you shall make a distinction between clean beasts and unclean, between unclean birds and clean. And do not make yourself abominable by beast or by bird, or whatever creeps on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. And you shall be set apart to me, for I, Yahweh, am set apart, and have separated you from the peoples to be mine. And a man or woman in whom there is a medium, or who are spiritless, shall certainly be put to death. They are to stone them with stones, their blood.
Amen, amen. Okay, Gary. Appreciate that very much. Okay, so that's going to complete our readings for today. Excellent job by all the readers. We'll have the closing blessing. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Yahweh noten haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us the Torah of truth, and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. Amen. Awesome. Amen. All right. Excellent. Okay, so just a reminder to everyone that we have our normal services each week. We do the Torah study every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. I will be in Lakeview, Ohio on the Memorial Day weekend, which is May 24th to 26th. Please contact Gary Flint. Gary, post your email again. And if you are planning to be attending, and give him a way to contact you back, put your phone number in the email so he can confirm some details with you. Okay? So we want to make sure we have enough room and the venue is set right. Okay, there's his phone number, so you always call Gary. Okay? And so we're excited to be in that area on that weekend. We are also going to be trying something for the first time, which is to try to broadcast from the place I'm visiting. So hopefully that will go well. Please keep that in prayer. It's going to be an experiment. I have no idea how it's going to come out, but we are going to give it a shot. All right. We are working on getting the Sukkot information out there. That may take another couple of weeks, so be patient, please. And we are also planning for the picnic in July, the mikveh and picnic, and we will get that information out as well. And, of course, Shavuot is coming on June 9th, Sunday, June 9th. And we'll see if we might announce something about that as well. Okay. That all being said, this is the time where we go into our discussion portion. If you have a comment or question, you can either raise your hand or type it in. And we'll go ahead and see what we can do to address some of the things that came up in this fairly short Torah study. I mean, this is not the longest portion that we've ever done. I mean, it's only 2 chapters. But there was a lot in those 2 chapters that we do need to pay attention to. And remember, from a contextual point of view, this is in a section where normally you would do last week's Acharei Mot with Kedoshim, and so you would be actually covering that whole combined section of Torah, okay, from chapter 16 all the way to the end of chapter 20. And so it will give us a little bit more context. Okay, Ian, there's a list of things not to do when mourning the death of a loved one. Are the tattoo markings also only prohibited when in connection with the death of a loved one, or is that a general prohibition? Okay, the tattoo thing comes up often. This is what I would say. Of course, if you're coming to me, if you are submitted under this authority and you do understand Deuteronomy 17, my decision on this that I hope was inspired, and we talked about quite a bit in leadership over the years, is that if you already have a tattoo, don't worry about it. It is what it is. You have the tattoo. On the other hand, the verse is not that explicitly clear as far as whether or not you should be going ahead and getting more of them. So when in doubt, be safe, don't. And so, yes, it's clear not to do it for the dead, but you know what? If you do more than you're required, you will never be in trouble. If you do less than what's required, you could be in trouble. So, Ian, I would say I would take it as a general prohibition, okay? And I wouldn't get more. Now, if you already have them, don't sweat it. You did that at a time when you didn't understand. What you don't want to be doing is getting them when you do understand, okay? So hopefully that makes some sense, okay? All right, let's see. Marty says the Shavuot playlist is up on YouTube. Okay, so there are some teachings that we've done that are Shavuot related. It's on YouTube now. So you guys are all welcome to go access that. Okay. David and Amy, 1920, is this sin not equal to adultery, not stone, but sin offering still required? Okay, 1920, it says that when a man has intercourse with a woman who is a female servant engaged to a man and has not at all been ransomed or not redeemed, there should be an inquiry and they are not put to death because she was not free. Look, there were a lot of judicial rules and a lot of cultural things going on that had to do with, okay, yeah, I know there's a hand up about Kabbalah. I see Yancey's hand. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, there's a lot of rules that have to do with in the land, under the jurisdiction of the court system and the priests, and in the culture when there were those that would become slaves, servants, and captives. Okay, so if we had slaves, servants, and captives, we'd have to deal with these rules. So this rule is very specific to that kind of thing. Okay, so it's not necessarily equal to adultery because those that are slaves and captives had a slightly different status. All right, that doesn't mean it wasn't a problem. It just didn't have the same penalties that go with it. All right.
Everybody hear me? Okay, I got 2 questions.
We
I
can
can
hear you.
ask them at once. Leviticus 19 verse 3 is a repeat of Exodus 20 verse 12. But the order is changed. This time his mother mentioned first and not the father. Is there a reason for that? Here is it connected to keeping the Sabbath, but in Exodus it is connected to the promise. Is there a reason for that? Or is it an extension of the promise? Then my next question is in regards to Leviticus 19 verse 14 and 32. It speaks of a fear of Elohim after giving command in regard to people like the deaf and elderly. Is this because Yahweh stands up for them, or because they are also created in his image and he do not want us to look down upon them?
Okay, thank you, Nancy, for your questions. Was there more? No. Okay. All right. So there is, in question 1, which has to do with 19.3, recognize that, and I think I said this last week, this is what I call chapter 16 through 20. I call it expounding on the 10 commandments. So almost every commandment is covered in these 4 chapters, okay? Actually 5 chapters, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And in these chapters, especially 18 through 20, we see them being connected together in a holistic way. So I don't think there's any reason that you should look at fear his mother and father as opposed to father and mother. You also remember you have slightly different things worded in the Exodus account as well as in the Deuteronomy account of the Ten Commandments. And so it's slightly different to give you a more full meaning and understanding of the actual instruction. Here, he's trying to give you the number one piece of this, which is to be set apart, for he is set apart. And he does say over and over again, he says, the first commandment, by the way, if you are coming from a Jewish background, is I am Yahweh your Elohim who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Okay? So the first commandment is I am Yahweh, your Elohim. And you find that he says this in chapter 18, verses 1, 4, 5, 6, and 30. In chapter 19, in verses 2, 3, 4, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 28, 30, 31, 32, 34, 36, and 37, and chapter 20, verses 7, 8, 24, and 26. So that's an awful lot of times, by the way, to say, I am Yahweh. It's kind of like when your parent says, because I'm your father, or because I'm your mother. It's that emphasis that says, I have the authority to say these things. And now, as he's saying them, he's saying, look, and I want you to connect the dots. All right, so it's not just honoring mother and father and not understanding that they're all connected. He wants to connect them to guarding the Sabbaths. He wants to connect it to all of the other things in here, the not turning to idols, okay, the dealing with right measures and right weights. All these things are connected, all right? All these things are connected. Okay, Tom, if you're getting a bad echo from the mic, it could be because your mic is on or you're going to have to come out and leave and come back in. Okay, so Ansi, that's question one. Question two is, yes, I agree with your kind of conclusions there, which is that fearing him should have us have enough awe and reverence and respect for what he's created so that we would treat those less fortunate in a loving and honoring and respectful way. So he does make sure to include those who are older, the gray-headed, and those that are infirmed with issues like being blind, etc., that we should have a certain amount of fear, the deaf or those who are blind, but to fear. Okay, we don't do these things because we respect and honor him, and not doing so would be disrespectful to him. All right, so hopefully that answers your questions, Ansi. Okay, let me see what else is on here. Tom says, is Leviticus 19:32 referring to protecting and helping? That's kind of what Ansi was asking about. Okay. Rise up before the gray-headed, and you shall favor the face of an old man. Well, it has to do with honoring and respecting. That this is somebody with years, more maybe experience and wisdom that you might have. And, you know, honoring and respecting their journey. And so there's that. And, of course, if you want to give them help and see what kind of help and get protection they might need, that'd be absolutely appropriate and awesome as well. Okay. Okay, let's see. David and Amy, 1929 and 2022, made me think of 6:11 and Romans 8:19. Okay, 1929. Do not profane your daughter by making her a whore, so that the land does not whore and the land becomes not defiled. And 2022 says, and you shall guard all my laws and my right rulings and do them, so that the land which I am bringing you to dwell in doesn't vomit you out. Okay, so what you're seeing is that there is a connection to Genesis. I'm not sure what the Romans reference is. I got to look that up real quickly, where the things that were happening caused the land to vomit them out. Or in the case of Genesis, there was the flood. Okay, and so we have those things happening. What we do affects the land. We talked about that in a recent teaching, and so you should have that in there, your understanding. Verse 19 of chapter 8 of Romans, for the intense longing of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons. Okay? There's again the connecting of what we do to how it affects the world, the earth. Okay? The land specifically is being talked about here, meaning the land of Israel. Okay, let's see. Olivier and Janet, Rabbi, okay, Leviticus 19:32, this is related to the fifth commandment. Yes, can you expand on the application? Please, thanks. Okay, look, the bottom line is some of you are struggling with this because your parents, okay, are older and are giving you all kinds of grief. Remember, this book is written to who? We're in the book of Leviticus. It's written to who? the priests, specifically, in relation to how Israel would then be instructed by the priests. Okay? So please, let's not confuse it. I know a lot of people struggle with the fifth commandment with their parents. Giving them honor and respect does not mean you obey everything they say. Okay? You're an adult. You're making your own choices. They do not have authority to just tell you what to do at this point. But you can say no respectfully. Right? Does that help, Janet? Olivier? Okay? So you give them honor and respect. You do not shame them, especially not in public. But you also do not have to do everything they say. And by the way, if they were raised in Christianity, they'll tell you, well, you're not keeping the fifth commandment because you're not doing what I say. Well, doing what you say is not what the fifth commandment says. The fifth commandment says, show them respect and honor. Well, it's not honoring me when you don't listen. Well, I'm an adult now. I don't have to do everything you said. I can have my own ideas and my own thoughts. I just have to do it respectfully. Okay? So let's make sure we've kind of covered that. Arthur, 1919, it appears the poor and the stranger, not just given a handout, they would have to work for their sustenance by gathering what was left behind. Excellent point. Freddie, Leviticus 19:33. I used to see this used a lot in political debates about immigration, pretty much from everyone not Torah observant. So could you explain how the sojourner is in the context of this verse? 19:33. And when a stranger sojourns with you in your land, do not oppress him. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, I have to look something up. That'll take me a half a second here. Somebody has a mic on. Because I hear somebody clearing their throat. That's better. Okay, let's see. Excuse me. Okay, that's what I was expecting. All right. So the word in the Hebrew there is ger. Okay, ger is a proselyte. So we are not to oppress the proselyte, those that are thinking of joining Israel. Of course, we're not to oppress anybody. We just understand that they're specifically talking about the one who sojourns in you, with you in your land, who's thinking about becoming an Israelite. Okay? So hopefully that makes some sense for everyone. Let's see. Because it's not just talking about general stranger in that particular verse. There are other verses that talk about, actual strangers, but in this case it's a proselyte, someone considering becoming part of Israel. 6 of the 10 commandments are addressed in chapter 19. Yes, all 9 of the 10 are addressed in these 4 chapters or 5 chapters. And we can kind of cover that here in a minute. Okay, Leviticus 20:25, just to be clear, we become abominable if we eat unclean animals. Pretty strong terms. Yes, those are very strong terms. Due to plant the variety of seeds for fruit and vegetables that Abba has made. Okay, 19:19 is talking about guard my laws. Do not let your livestock mate with other kind. Do not sow your field with mixed seed. And do not put a garment woven of 2 sorts of thread upon you. Okay, so the sowing your field with mixed seed, we have to understand what the idea of mixed seed is. And if there could have been maybe going on there a little bit of genetic manipulation and things like that, even in those days, like the GMO stuff. I don't know, because there are a lot of synergistic things when you plant different things in a field. Okay? And so, but these are laws for when you're in the land. Okay? Could be hybrid. Could be other things like that. Crystal says, could it be hybrid plants perhaps? Maybe. All right. Just scrolling down here. 104 attendees. Now we're on channel 103. Okay. Can I get clarity on 1927? Do not round the corner of your head nor destroy the corner of your beard. Okay. Renee wants clarity on that. Renee, don't destroy the corners of your beard. Okay. All right. Okay, so the main thing that's going on here, okay, just because it tells you what to do or not do with the beard does not presuppose you have to have one. Let me say that again. It tells you what to do to one and not to do to one. It doesn't tell you that you have to have one. Because let's be honest, there are people that can't grow a beard. Okay? There are whole racial groups that really struggle to grow a beard. They have a genetic thing where they really don't grow a lot of hair, to make a beard. You don't see a lot of Asians with like beards. Okay? All right? There's a lot, not that none of them can do it. I'm just saying there are some genetic factors where not everybody can grow a beard. So Yahweh would not give a law that not everybody could do. What he's trying to tell you is what not to do to your beard. So they said, look, don't destroy the corners of your beard. And so there were things happening where people would do cuttings and carvings into their beards for the dead. You see athletes doing this into their scalp for their sports, where they put their team's logo in their head or whatever. I used to get people all the time coming up to me when I did not have a beard saying, "Oh, you call yourself a rabbi? What about Leviticus 19:27?" Of course, I would have to say things like, "I'm sorry, I can't hear you because your seat are not on. That's affecting my ability to hear you." So, you might want to see what these people are doing with the plank in their eye before they go for the twig in yours. But recognize that that's not the problem here. I could shave my beard. I wouldn't be breaking any Torah. All right? There is no instruction requiring me to have a beard. There is instruction that says if I have one, what I don't do is I don't round the corners like you would see the monks doing, where they put a bowl on their head and round the corners of their head, or they have these long goatees like the Egyptians where the thing came out, 7 or 8 inches, and these long chin things that they had. You see them all the time in the movies or in the archaeological stuff with the Egyptians. Remember, they were coming out of Egypt at this point. So it's basically more of a do not do as they do. Okay, do not do as they do type of thing. All right. Okay, Christian wants to know about 1919. The clothing mentions linen and wool only, correct? Okay, 1919 is talking specifically. It doesn't say there the 2 different sorts, but in other places it talks about linen and wool. And some of this is actually just for the priests. Because remember, the priests have to wear a linen garment to go into the temple. So we got a lot of stuff thrown together in this book that's written to the priests. But yes, you can go ahead and get, a clothing that's, say, polyester and cotton and things like that. It's not a problem. Okay? Okay. You can find linen in the stores. You just have to look for it. You can find it, especially in the thrift stores. Okay. Okay. Gary says in Leviticus 19:32, in law enforcement class, we used to rise to attention whenever the authority entered into the room. I thought it was a great show or sign of respect. Imagine if we did this in Torah observance, went on, who was ever over us, a leader or was an elder. Okay. So look, we do not have, you go back a generation or two and people said, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Anybody remember that? You refer to adults as yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. We don't see any children doing that anymore. We've lost respect for our elders. Still do in the South. Not all that much, and I'm in the South. I hear it very rarely. Okay? All right? Not a whole lot of yes, sir, yes, ma'ams. Okay, so we've lost connection with that respect for authority. And we see that playing out quite a bit. All right, let's see. Ian says a lot of the stuff we're told not to do in this section sure looks like a lot of stuff America is currently doing or headed towards. Absolutely. And it's a problem. Okay. Olivia and Janet, chapter 20, 10 to 21 is about sexual sin. Would you tell us where in the Torah do we find commands related to fornication, sexual relations outside the covenant of marriage, please? That's a complicated subject we'll have to put off to another time. Sorry, Olivia and Janet. Okay, because there are lots of things sexually that are okay and allowable that we may think are a little strange and weird. But we'll deal with that at another point. Sorry, but we're not going to get that done tonight. But you could ask me about that another time or privately, because it would take more time than we have. Let's see. Tony, 19:6 and 7, can you give clarification about why was eating the sacrifice on the third day an abomination? Well, because I think what's going on is that you had to bring offerings on a regular enough basis, and you were to eat it and not save it over longer so that you would not be tempted not to go ahead and bring the next offering that you needed to bring. Okay? Same reason why we don't save our second tithe to the next year. If you carry your second tithe forward at the end of Sukkot to the next year, and you keep doing that for a while, you may end up with enough excess that you'll forget that you need to keep your second tithe. Okay, so that, Okay. Adrian remembers that in the 613, I showed up clean shaven and it was shocking. Yes, I actually had one guy quit the ministry who was following us on YouTube because he said I exposed myself. I stood naked before my brothers. I watched the video. I'm pretty sure I had clothing on, but I did have a clean face. Okay. Okay, 1915 for Olivia and Janet. Okay, 1915. Do know unrighteousness and right ruling, do not be partial to the poor or favor the face of the great, but rightly rule your neighbor in righteousness. Okay, this is not about giving a discount to poor people. This is about in judgment and ruling that you're not giving the rich or the poor a pass just because they're rich or poor. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to everyone. All right, let's see. I was reading what else we got here. Ian said they will if they go to the military. That's back to the yes sir, yes ma'am stuff. And they will learn to rise for higher ranks. Look, I took martial arts. When my teacher walked in the room, we all jumped to attention. You're in the military, the higher commander comes in, everybody jumps to attention. The rabbi walks in a room, nobody even notices. I can't even get people to stop talking half the time. Okay? We just have not learned to take our self-focused attention onto being an awareness of what's going on around us and what's appropriate. Because I'll tell you what, if you've ever been in the military or in a martial arts class, and you were, and that teacher or that military higher up came in the room and you still were doing your thing, you got in some pretty big trouble. Okay? For the gray-headed as well. Okay? But the gray-headed is an idiomatic phrase for those who are wise and seasoned. Okay? Not just because they're old. There's kind of a little of both going on there. Okay? All right. Okay, Robert says, Rabbi, thanks so much for your teaching. I'm a sinner looking for the truth. As a guest of a follower, I'm new to the truth. I'm seeking the correct direction to my life. Robert, I would recommend that you take full advantage of all the free teachings that I posted online and then call with questions if you have them. Just kind of scrolling down here. Okay. All right. Let me just hit a few things here real quickly. Okay, so in this parsha, we've got number 1 point is be set apart. Be set apart. So you need to figure out what that means. Be set apart. Melton wants to know, so Rabbi, so you're not to have a goatee. I used to. I wouldn't. But the goatee is not really what it's talking about. It's talking about more the beard that comes right to a point and comes off the chin. Not a close-cropped goatee. I wouldn't really worry about it that way, but, okay. But you need to, I'm not asking you to put a definition here like in the world but not of it. I mean, you need to figure out for yourself, what does it look like in your life to be set apart? He also says an awful lot, guard the commands, guard the Sabbath, guard this, guard that, okay? You need to be thinking about what it means to guard stuff. Let's keep that in strong understanding, okay? Be set apart. This is really important. Okay? Point number 2, or 3, I forget where I'm up to here, is do not do as they do. There's an awful lot of don't do what they do. Because it's very tempting to do what they do. Do not do what they do. Like I said, there's an awful lot of I am Yahweh's. It's like a little exclamation point at the end. Don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that, because I am Yahweh. I have the authority to tell you what to do. Why does he have the authority? Because that's the covenant. We agreed we would do what he says. And so once we agreed, now he's telling us what it is we agreed to. You agreed to do what I say, so these are what I'm saying. All right? All right? This is very, very important. All right. So what else do we have going on here? We've got the Ten Commandments expounded. Okay, so we talked about the first commandment. Oh, somebody almost called me. Okay, we talked about the first commandment, which is the I am Yahweh. We talked about all the verses that's in. There's a whole lot of them. Then the second commandment, which is idolatry. Leviticus 19, verses 4 through 8 covers that. The third commandment is covered in Leviticus 18:21 and 19:12. Okay, so 19:12 says, and do not swear falsely by my name or so profane the name of Yahweh your Elohim, I am Yahweh. The fourth commandment, the Shabbat, is mentioned in 19:3. We talked about that, connected to honoring mother and father, as well as in verse 30, guard my Sabbaths, reverence my set-apart places, in chapter 19. The fourth commandment, the Sabbath. The fifth commandment, honoring mother and father, is mentioned in 19:3. Not murdering is in 19:17 and 18. So it says, do not hate your brother in your heart, reprove your neighbor for certain. Bear no sin with him. Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of Israel. And by the way, for all your Christian friends, loving your neighbor as yourself is not a New Testament idea. Tell them it's right there in Leviticus 19:18. Okay? Adultery is covered in 18:20 and in 20 verses 10 through 12 and 14. Okay? Stealing is covered in 19:11, 13, and 36. You don't have to write these things down. I'm just giving you sort of the idea. So it's, all the stuff is there. False witness is in 19:11 and 16. Coveting is everywhere. It's not mentioned specifically. Okay? It's everywhere. All right? So there's no specific direct mention of coveting, but that's what drives all the other stuff. All right? Okay, let's see what I saw. Some people said that they... All right, let's see. Robert says, Rabbi, I need serious help. Satan is strong within me. Help me to be free from this hold. What to do? Okay, first you need to stop blaming Satan. You need to man up, stand up, and just choose to make better choices. Satan is not the problem. If you didn't have the problem, Satan couldn't do anything. You have the problem. Own the problem. Own yourself. All right? Stop thinking like a mainstream Christian where Satan's the problem. Satan is not your problem. Okay? Self-sovereignty is your problem. Wanting to do what you want to do is your problem. Not having a good background, a good culture, a good childhood, whatever it is your problem. But Satan is not your problem. Satan is the opportunist who's just encouraging you to deal with your problem, to do your stuff that you shouldn't be doing. Okay? Please don't get upset with me for being strong with you, but that's what you needed to hear. Whether you like it or not, trust me, you needed to hear that. Okay? Look in the mirror and recognize, I've seen the enemy and it's me, which also means that you can fix it. You can get counsel, you can get help, and you can fix it. All right? Please stop scapegoating the enemy. Okay, Kendall said, Rabbi Steve told me the same thing the first time I called him about Hasatan. Okay? Okay, sometimes your stuff tends to own you. Well, then grab the ownership back and don't let your stuff own you. Okay? It's time to step up and take charge of your life. Look, you cannot, let's be clear, you cannot submit yourself fully to Yeshua and to the Father unless you actually fully have sovereignty over yourself. Get yourself under control. When I taught martial arts all those years ago, you know what the teacher always said? If you can't control you, how are you going to control the enemy? If you can't control you, how are you going to control the enemy? Okay? But the church has told you everything good, Yeshua did it, everything bad, Satan did it, and you were like in the middle doing nothing. Okay? And so let's understand, Satan is not the instigator. He is not the originator. If you don't have it in you, he's got nothing to work with. There's nothing going on. I've often used the example. If you don't have an alcoholic problem for Satan to work with, guess what? He's never going to tempt you to get drunk and go binge drinking. If you do have a problem with alcohol, guess what he's going to tempt you with? Now, get rid of the problem, he won't tempt you anymore. Okay? He will help you in the journey. This is our greatest exercise in willpower. Okay, but it's not willpower. It's not like it takes a great amount of strength. You simply have to listen to the teaching, making decisions, the reason to exist. Choose to go a different path and then commit to it. All right? All right? You have to choose and then commit to it. Here's the problem. You really like doing that stupid stuff that you're doing on some bizarre level. I'm sorry if I'm hurting anybody or stepping on your toes, but you need to hear this. You do what you do. That's right, you sicko. You do what you do because you like it. If you didn't like it, you wouldn't do it. All right? Okay? If you didn't like it, you wouldn't do it. If you weren't running away from something, you wouldn't do it. Most of the things you do that are foolish, it's an escape from what you should be doing, or the stuff that you just don't want to deal with. So you run away. You avoid. You escape. So you know what? The kingdom is going to be, hopefully, filled with adults. Time to put childish things aside, as Paul would say. When I was a child, they acted like a child, they thought like a child, and all that other stuff. But now it's time to put that foolishness aside and act like an adult. All right? Whatever you're struggling with, it's because you like it. Oh, Rabbi, that hurts. Well, it is what it is. I'm not big on empathy. Okay? I can't coddle you. I'm not codependenting with you. I'm not going to be codependent. I'm not going to enable. You're struggling with something? First admit it's because you have some part of you that likes it. Okay? It feeds something in you. Okay, thank you, Rabbi. No other leader scared enough to speak this life-changing truth. Okay? Or cared enough. No other leaders cared enough to speak this life-changing truth. Okay? My red rabbi that we love. There you go. All right? Listen, when I struggle just like you struggle. But the first thing I have in my head when I struggle is, what is it that I'm running away from or running towards because it's what I truly, at that point, deep down, still want? I still want to either run away from something or I still really want the thing I'm running towards. You got to get a hold of your desires. Okay? If Satan's the ultimate enabler, he'll coddle us right into the fire with him. Yeah? But stop blaming him for everything. If you take away, look, where do we see Hasatan interacting with man? We see it in Job. And what was the deal with Job? Yahweh said to Hasatan, what do you think of Job? What did Hasatan say? He said, well, there's nothing to work with. Of course, Job had nothing to work with, but then Hasatan said, well, there's nothing to work with because you give him everything. And Yahweh said, that's not true. I'll prove it. Take it all away, and he'll still be righteous. Okay? Okay, so Robert, it's not about blaming yourself. It's about owning it and then fixing it. Okay? Don't beat yourself up with blame. Don't feel all terrible, guilty, and disempowered and depressed. Just own it. And if you own it, you can fix it. With Yahweh, with Yeshua, I can do all things through Yeshua who strengthens me. He strengthens you. He doesn't do it for you. The three voices. Okay, we'll explain to Robert about the three voices. You got at least three voices in your head. Some of you got more than that. You got that self-sovereign I, me voice. Then you've got the Hasatan's voice saying, yeah, do what you want to do. It's okay. You can do what you want to do. Go ahead. You'll love it. And then there's a third voice waiting for the other two to shut up so it can tell you, hey, this is what you really need to be doing. Okay? Okay? All right, so I want to encourage you, Robert, in Louisiana. Okay, the support is here. You got the Father and the Son. You've got a body of believers here that can encourage you through the process, but you have to own your stuff and commit to fix it. Okay,
Can you guys hear me?
Okay, listen, good question. Let me explain. And your mic's still on. You can put your hand down. Okay, listen, here's the deal. Picture the old. I thought my mic was on. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. So all of this is like the old movies. All right, where you had the devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and the person is trying to make a decision, but the decision is to do or not do something they know they really shouldn't, but they want to. And so what's the devil saying on their shoulder? Oh, it's okay. You'll get away with it. You know you want to do it. Oh, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So the devil is encouraging, cheering you on to do what you want to do, even though you shouldn't do it. But the thought wasn't his. The thought was yours. Okay? The thought was yours, not his. I'll give you an example. This is for the guys. I don't know how I would do this for the ladies. Let me think about that, but that's for the guys. We're getting to summertime. You're driving down the road, and it's about 85 degrees, and you stop at a red light, and you look to your left, and you see a beautiful young woman in a summer dress, comes up above her knees, she's looking all whatever, and you notice her. No big deal. Everybody would notice her. That's fine. However, now you got the devil on your shoulder going, yeah, that was good, wasn't it? You want to go and really kind of lust after that. Hey, why don't you drive around the block and look at her again? And then the other voice is telling you, no, 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 no. Okay? It's enough that you noticed her. Now put your eyes back in their sockets and go forward. You understand? Okay? It's human to notice something that could tempt you, whatever that something is. But what do you do next? That's the key. That's the key. Ladies, you're having struggles with your husband. You happen to have a job or something where you interact with some guys there that are very friendly and nice and supportive and encouraging. And, you know, they make you feel good and respected and honored, maybe in a way that maybe your husband hasn't been doing. And so there's a temptation to flirt or make yourself more available to them. And, okay? Don't do that. But Hasatan's saying, oh, but this guy makes you feel good. It's okay. You just like the way you feel. And we're just being friends. Really? Guys, you do the same thing with the ladies. Oh, we're just friends. Is that really what's motivating you? Okay? Not what you need to be doing. Okay? The only ladies in my life that I'm friends with them and their husbands. Okay? There are some single ladies that I cover, but that's not a friendship as much as a covering. It's a different relationship. Okay? And so let's make sure that we're there. Okay. Now, Ian goes, where's the line if we're single, assuming the one we're flirting with isn't married? Okay. Well, then you need to learn proper male-female interaction, and we could talk about that. We'll probably have a class on it here coming up soon for the singles. Okay, we may even talk about that at Sukkot or something. All right? So let's know that there's some things that we have to do. Okay, Rick says, welcome home, Robert. Rabbi gives life coaching, great life coaching. Watch his teachings on the MTOI website and YouTube channel, and you'll become an overcomer. There you go. Okay? Okay, so Raymond says, to have a temptation occur to you is not sin. To entertain, fantasize about it, flirt with it is. Okay, Matthew 4. Okay, that's really important. All right? And it's the enemy that will try to encourage you to go in the direction of entertaining it, fantasizing about it, flirting with it, etc., if it's really what you want. Like I said, if a beautiful man or woman walks in a room, everybody's going to notice them. It's what do you do next? Do you follow them with your eyes everywhere they go in the room? Do you try to find an excuse to talk to them? Do you what are you doing? By the way, this could be with drugs, with alcohol, with gambling, with with foods you shouldn't be eating, with breaking the Sabbath, breaking the feast. It could be any commandment. It could deal with money. Okay, there is a personal responsibility that has not really been taught well by the church. As a matter of fact, they haven't taught it at all. Okay? Rabbi, in the order of things, do test trials come at one time, one at a time, or does Abba cause or allow multiple tests and trials at one time? Sometimes, yes, he does. Sometimes he'll throw you a barrage of them. Or he'll either cause or allow a barrage of them. That happens. Are you up to the challenge? Are you ready to handle what's coming? Listen to the teaching on the, what was it called? Baptism of fire. Okay, listen to that teaching. Okay, Job had a barrage, for sure. Okay, listen to the baptism of fire teaching. Understand what that's really talking about in terms of trials. But that's right, Ian. He never tests us with more than we can handle. There's always provided a way of escape. But the point is, do you want to escape? A lot of times you don't want to. And then you find yourself in a place and you go, how did I end up here? You ended up there because you wanted to be there. All right? But no, I didn't. Well, maybe consciously on an intellectual level you didn't want to, but in a heart level you did. Okay? And so this is really important. Okay? It's not just do you have eyes and ears, Gary, to hear, to see the escape. Are you even looking for it? Are you even looking for it? This is important. This is where we struggle. All right? You got to, in order to be successful in this journey, you have to own your stuff and then make a commitment to work on your stuff. Because that stuff is yours. You guys are really good about wanting to own everybody else's stuff and have people work on those things, but own your stuff. That's right. Ian said, if you're not careful, you end up where you're going. I got that from Harold when I was in Arizona. That's a good one. Sorry, Rabbi, inside joke. We just started baptism fire teaching together. There you go. That's right. The seat sheet are there to help remember the path that we're to take. Good point. Okay. This is the old plank and the twig thing, too. Oh, we're so good at seeing everybody else's stuff, but can you see your own stuff? James says, don't look in that mirror and walk away forgetting what you saw. And what you saw was you. Listen, I said last night, you can do this. You can do this. You can do this. Listen, if you have to go back and listen to the recording from the Rosh Chodesh last night, you can do this. How do I know? Because he called you. He called you knowing that he would finish what he started if you would do your part. He called you knowing you can do this. Okay? You got to deal with a lot of stuff, but you can do it. All right? You can do it. I promise you. How can I promise you? Because I trust him. He says you can do it. All right? Excuse me. All right. Listen, I'm not feeling great, so I'm going to try to wrap this up here. Hopefully everybody can appreciate that. I do want to point one thing out that was in the teaching today that we might have missed a little bit. In Leviticus 19:22, it says that in doing the sacrifice, making atonement with the ram, the sin was forgiven. Do not let a Christian or anybody else tell you that in the Old Testament that the blood of goats and lambs could not be used for forgiving of sin. Just realize that that's not what Yeshua did. Okay? Yeshua is dealing with a whole different level of dealing with your sin. He's removing the stain. He's removing the penalty that you were supposed to. And that was for you. This is important. Because people say, well, that animal sacrifice system couldn't forgive sin. Yes, it could. Unless you don't believe Yahweh when he says in verse 22, He says, and the priest shall make atonement for him and the ram of the guilt offering before Yahweh for his sin which he has done, and the sin which he has sinned shall be forgiven him. Anybody have a problem with what Yahweh said? But what about Yeshua? Yeshua is dealing with a whole lot of different things. Okay, Robert says, Rabbi, I've been listening. I'll be back again to try a change of my life. Excellent. Listen to the teachings. I promise you, they're transformative. They're meant to help you walk this out. And feel free to call if you need help. Okay? All right? Okay, so just remember that for those that think there was no forgiveness of sin in the Old Testament, there absolutely was. But that didn't take away the penalty. It didn't reconcile or redeem. Not in that same way. We need the redemptive reconciliation that Yeshua provides. Forgiveness was there. Does everybody understand that? Did I make that clear enough, please? Yes? All right? Okay, good. Okay, good. All right, Robert and all of you, we do this every week. All right, what is the Marco Polo group? It's a video chat that a lot of the MTOI people use to interact with each other. I wouldn't recommend anybody being in there when they're brand new. First figure out if you actually want to be a part of this group, and then we'd be happy to throw you in there. Okay? You know, it's kind of a members, family, sort of brotherhood thing. I don't know, whatever you want. It's not cultish. It's just, you know, everybody is on mostly the same page. So, you know, keep coming for a little while. See if you like what we're doing here, and then, you know, we can always put somebody in the group. Okay? All right. I'm only 390 something Marco Polos behind, by the way. Okay, so Al T is Messianic for 18 years, but see, there's a lot of people Messianic for a long time, but they still are Messi Baptist, Messi Costal, Messa something. Okay, so there's a lot of journey to go on, and we, you know, to see if we're all on the same page, Al. So, you know, keep listening, keep studying with us, and see if we're on the same page. All right? A lot of Messianics out there. Okay? The whole thing's just messy. Thank you, Joni. That's true. Okay. Okay. So, Rabbi, I will try to contact you Thursday after work, probably around 4. That'll be fine. Give me a call then. I should have all the moving in the truck, all that stuff already happened earlier in the morning. So that'll be fine. All right. Let's go ahead and get someone to close us.
Mic check. Abba Father, we thank you for this time of fellowship and learning in your word. We thank you for your Torah. We thank you for anointed, appointed leadership that can guide us and give us insights to the different nuances and idioms and everything else that goes along with your word from the Hebrew perspective. We pray that we'll have an open mind and a willing heart to follow what we have learned and make it part of our life as we follow Yeshua in all his ways. We thank you and we ask your continued blessing and protection throughout the rest of this week. And we ask all of this in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And Al T, I'm glad that you said you're on the right page for me. I thought I was alone. You're not alone, Al. And you're welcome to call us here and get to know us a little better. We do live stream our Shabbat service on YouTube every Shabbat, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. We do these Torah studies every Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And all the teachings that I've done are online free. They're on YouTube, on iTunes, on Podomatic, everywhere. Okay? And so you're all welcome to take advantage of all that. All right, let me go ahead and I'll try this one more time with the video and just to wave at everybody. I don't know why the thing is like taking up the whole screen. I'll have to figure that out. Not really sure. Oh, I'm standing up now. I got a desk that goes up and down. There we go. You don't scratch, wave. Al, you don't understand the scratching in the coin. We got a teaching that's going to come out called The Legend of the Coin. It's just a goofy thing we do because we have an MTOI coin. Okay? See if I can get it on there. It's a 1 ounce silver coin. It was used for redeeming of the firstborn. It's a Pidjan Haben thing. Now we have it as something that we just do. It kind of bonds us together, so it's kind of cool. All right, so let me go ahead and close this. There we go. Let's see. There, good. All right, excellent. Okay. Oh, you saw the legend of the coin. There you go. We did that over Passover week. How many of you saw the legend of the coin? There are a lot of people. Okay. Excellent. That will be coming out on YouTube at some point. Excuse me. All right, so the way this works is I'm going to type in a countdown. When it gets to 0, we close the room. It doesn't go real fast. I type a few numbers, then we talk a little bit. Give you a little bit of time to say good night to each other. Shavua Tov means have a good week. Mishpacha means family. Lavender, lemon, peppermint, then breathe. Okay, I can do that. Also, coins go up and down, side to side, and diagonally. There you go. Lila Tov means have a good night. Shalom and blessings to all of you. I love you guys a whole lot here. I mean, I appreciate the family that you guys are to me. Green tea and honey. We work on all these kind of things. All right, Titanic scratch from Freddie. Of course, we got a Titanic scratch usually from Roy in Northern Ireland. You all right? Again, like I said, when this thing gets down to 0, we'll shut her down. I know we ended a little bit early tonight, but like I said, I'm not feeling 100%. I apologize for that. Appreciate all the prayers. Okay, Sam, you sent me, yeah, I got your Marco Polo. I have to reply to it. I did get it. Thank you, Sam. All right. We're just going to go ahead and wrap this down. Okay, Owen and Evie, you just got back in the room where we're closing it down. Sorry about that. All right. That's going to do it. Good night, everyone. Blessings to all of you. We'll see you on